WisconsinEye's Campaign 2024 programming is sponsored by Wisconsin Counties Association, Nicolet National Bank, Wisconsin Hospital Association, Operating Engineers Local 139, the Wisconsin Realtors Association, the Wisconsin Laborers District Council, and North Central State's Regional Council of Carpenters. To support programs like this, please consider a tax-deductible donation at wiseye.org/donate or by texting WisCI to 44321.
Richard Johnson of New Glarus is the Republican candidate for the 50th Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Richard Johnson, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Well, thank you, Lisa.
So thank you for participating in this interview today. I want to start by asking you, what's your campaign's key message? Why are you running for this office?
I'm running, it's a little unique, I would say. I'm running because I found out back in February when they redistrict that we were going to not have a choice in November if somebody didn't step up and run. So I decided that I could do this, and I did my research, and we went out and got our signatures and met some great people doing that, and had a lot of people ask, why haven't you done this before? So I feel like I know this area. I've lived and worked in it most of my life, 45 years of work experience, and 23 years in the town of New Glarus, and before that went to high school and grew up in Oregon, Wisconsin, and in the Fitchburg area. So I think I can bring a unique perspective to this.
So if you're elected, what's an example of a bill that you might introduce?
I would like to see something done, and I know some communities are already working on this, but I know that our fire and especially our EMS services in the more rural areas, such as New Glarus and Albany, are really suffering for lack of funding, lack of training, lack of people, and lack of equipment. So I would like to find some way to get them some money, more monies, and as well as the training, and maybe co-op somehow with the schools. And I know that can be an issue. I talked to some people that told me that because of the insurance, they can't really have people under 25. So maybe there's something we could do about that as well. But yeah, we really need to support our emergency services, because one day, who knows, I might need them.
So if you're elected, you'd be coming into the legislature during a biennial budget year, and the state currently has what's projected to be over a $3 billion surplus. What would be your top two priorities for use of that surplus?
Well, I think when you have a surplus, that means that the taxpayers as a whole have overpaid. So I would like to see somehow some of that go back. During the last budget, I know that they spent a record amount on both health care and education, but unfortunately the governor vetoed tax breaks for the lower and middle classes. So I would like to see some of it in some way return to the communities.
You talk about tax cuts, you don't mention a spending priority. Is there an area in the budget that you think needs additional investment that would come from that surplus?
Our infrastructure. I mean, we can't grow our communities without a strong infrastructure, that being roads, electrical, fuels, power, people. We really need to work on making sure that our schools are providing people that are ready to work straight out of either high school or in the colleges or the tech schools.
Speaking of schools, K-12 education is a leading issue for many voters. What is your campaign's top priority for K-12 education? I'm all about funding our schools. So I would like to see us continue to fund them, at least at the level we are doing. I have some concerns that perhaps not all that money is getting spent the way
going to the classrooms and to the teachers and the students' education. There's been some talk about the Milwaukee School District and missing monies in the amounts of almost $1 billion. I think it's almost $1 billion, $800 million of COVID funding, and where did it go? So I think people need to know where the money's going. I would like to see a little more transparency with the curriculum. I've spoke with some administrators and former educators in my district while doing doors and while getting signatures. And to a T, they admitted that perhaps there's a little bit heavy on the administration side and not as much as might be needed on the teachers and the curriculum.
Mm-hmm. On the topic of higher education, what does the future of Wisconsin's system, four-year colleges, two-year colleges, as well as technical colleges look like to you, and what changes should the legislature focus on in higher ed?
I think we're doing a pretty darn good job right now in Wisconsin. I went to MATC, now Madison College, and I felt like I got my money's worth. Again, though, maybe a little more transparency, and I know, talking to people in my district, that we need more technically skilled people, tradespeople. We've got electrical shops that don't have, they can't find another electrician when they need it. We've got a small engine repair place in town that could use another small engine tech. So maybe getting our focus back on the needs of the community, the immediate needs would be a direction we could go. I'm not sure exactly how the legislature can make that happen, but that's something I guess I will learn if I get in there.
You're kind of already talking about this, but what do you see as our state's largest workforce development challenge, and how would you propose addressing it?
It sounds like we've got shortages all across the state in all skills and all trades and all positions. So we need to find ways to make sure that the people that we do put through our higher education here, or even in the schools, they get some skills that we can then keep them here. We also may need to promote and recruit from outside the state, and I think by lowering some costs, perhaps lowering the taxes a little bit, and getting better paying jobs and working with our businesses to help them grow, we can become more attractive to these people from out of state, as well as keeping the ones that we already have in state.
Staying on the topic of workforce, investments in public and energy infrastructure grow our state's economy. These investments also provide an opportunity to invest in our state's workforce, but currently there are no requirements for hiring local workers. Would you support a state resident hiring requirement for state, local, and utility scale infrastructure investments?
I looked at this question a little bit, and I think that the only reservation I perhaps have with this is if we limit it only to in-state persons and companies, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in need of more than what the state can provide. I think we need to have some kind of an exclusion in that case, because there are times, I know I was in utilities for many years with TDS Telecom, and we often contracted outside of the company and outside of the state because they were because of the need, because we didn't have the in-house. But definitely I would rather have a preference towards in-state companies and people.
Employee classification is an issue in the construction industry. Some employers misclassify workers as independent contractors or pay them in cash off the books. This lowers costs by avoiding payroll taxes and unemployment insurance, and it puts compliant companies at a disadvantage when bidding on projects. Plus, misclassified workers may be denied minimum wage protections or overtime pay. Are you aware of this issue, and what do you think should be done about it?
I haven't seen it myself, but I'm certain that it happens. I mean, we've all seen the movies where they show a group of people waiting at a bus stop, and they all climb in the vehicle and they go off and work for the day. So although, like I said, I'm not aware personally, I haven't run into this. I'm certain that it can happen, and yeah, that is a practice that we cannot allow. There are true contractors though, as well, as I've said, by working in the trades where we actually have hired contractors, and we pay them a certain wage, and then they are expected then to use that wage to pay their benefits and their health and such. But yeah, I'm definitely all about making sure that the people that are working are working legally under under and paying the taxes, but also getting the benefits that they deserve and the pay that they've earned.
Moving on to housing. Affordable rental housing is an issue in Wisconsin, and some have proposed government-imposed rent control to maintain affordability, while others argue that keeping rent artificially low will decrease rental supply, therefore increasing prices. What is your sense of housing as an issue, and which best addresses rental housing affordability? Is it rent control or building more rental housing?
I think I've heard a lot of negative about rent control, and I really haven't looked into that. As far as building more housing, I know that in the past budget, or in 2023, the governor signed a housing bill that they broke it into like 5 different points, but one of them was to special loans for people looking into building workforce or senior housing. So that's kind of the way I would like to see it go, is either through special loans and grant program where we still get paid back eventually. We're not charging as much of the interest, the inflated interest.
Transitioning to health care. Medical systems are facing numerous headwinds in the form of inflation, workforce development, and issues around Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement, resulting in fewer services and even a closure of a hospital system in western Wisconsin. What would you do to preserve access to care and prevent future closures?
What was the last part of that?
So headwinds for medical systems, and there have been closures of hospitals. There was one closure over in western Wisconsin. So it's like, what can the legislature do to preserve access to care?
Access to care. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little hard of hearing.
That's okay.
A lot of years hammer drilling without the proper hearing protection.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, I know, like I said, I know that our legislature in this last session spent a large portion of the surplus on health care. As far as exactly how we can help further, I would like to see us do programs where we can get people to, well, I know shortages, but that's not what we're really talking about. We're just talking about keeping the access to health care. So,
you mean shortages in healthcare workforce?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I know we can help with that through grants and paybacks of loans and that in exchange for them for their service.
But, and you think that would help access to care?
I think that may help access to care just by getting more providers out there. I would also like to see us build a better relationship with our healthcare system and any way we can help out at all.
Related to this issue, mental health care is a major concern for Wisconsinites and for county and state budgets. In your district, what are you hearing about mental health care, and how might you address the issue?
I've actually spoke with several people that are aware that there is a shortage. I mean, you bigger cities in my district may have some availability, but overall the smaller communities really don't. I would like to see us work to get that, get more mental health care available to more people in our district, and whatever we can do at the legislative to help that, whether it be more funding or just somehow working together with the communities to get them the help they need. We need to. Suicide is rates are high, and especially amongst our veterans, and that's another. I mean, I'm big with the veterans, and I would like to see another Fisher House here in Wisconsin as well, in the Madison area. And I know it's been identified as a need. It's just a matter of getting a site settled on and getting it built.
Abortion policy in Wisconsin. How should the state move forward on the issue of abortion? Are you in support of certain limits and exceptions?
I actually looked at the law shortly after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And what I could identify from my statute, a long time ago I went to school and I was a police officer. So from what I could identify from the statutes was that we actually already had pretty close to what we had under Roe v. Wade. And I'm sorry, I keep saying actually, but I went online recently and looked at Planned Parenthood, and they look at even a greater length term period of up to 22 weeks. What I had interpreted from reading the law, and a lot of this is it's interpretive. From the date of conception being unknown to how far along the person actually is. But what I found was that I found about a 15-week term. I believe that we already have exceptions. They've been written in. The old 1849 law has been amended. So I think what we have now is pretty good. But
you wouldn't change it?
Perhaps a little discussion and to get it finalized, because like I said, right now you really do have to know your you have to know how to read the legalese and understand and interpret those statutes. So the confusing part for me, though, is knowing that at the time that Roe v. Wade overturned, Planned Parenthood went and closed down and said they could not do any abortions until just recently in September of 2023. And I question why they did that, because it just does not make sense, because then they just started again and nothing really changed to make that happen.
Yeah, I think it was in the courts, the discussion around the 1849 law and what that was really meant on the books. But transportation, what are the pressing transportation needs in your district, and how important is it that these needs are addressed and for the state to keep on schedule with the reconstruction of our aging interstates and significant corridors of commerce?
I understand that through the agriculture road improvement program that one of our townships is currently getting funding to address some road needs. Now, Greene County is a huge agriculture provider in our district, as well as a cheese capital of our state. So we definitely, although I do not know any immediate concerns, we definitely need to address the fact that only about 10% of our states, our counties, our districts' roads are actually state trunks. The rest of them are rural, and we need to make sure that they are maintained for the trucking and the agriculture business, the milk trucks and the ag equipment, and they need to be up to specs. All our tunnels, we don't have any tunnels. All our culverts and bridges also need to be maintained at a level that can support the growth that we hope to have.
Environment issues, PFAS and other water contaminants are a concern for a growing number of Wisconsinites. Do you see this as an important issue, and how would you propose addressing it?
Water quality is always a huge issue. I'm a hunter, so environment is huge with me too. I know that both sides have come to a standstill on the PFAS, with one side saying there's not enough enforcement, and the other side saying that it's endangering private people that did not necessarily know what caused it. So I would like to see this resolved one way or another, because the money's there, and people need clean water, obviously, and we need a clean environment. So whatever it takes, I would like to see us get to work on this.
Coming to the end of our interview, I want to ask you, how would you describe the leading differences between you and your opponent?
Just from the doors I've done, one of the biggest things that I'm hearing is that you're the only person we hear or see. And they're happy that I'm out there talking to them and being responsive and receptive to their comments and their concerns. I'm also, as I've said, this is my district's my home. I've worked and lived in it for almost 55 of my 56 years. So this is where I want to stay. This is my home. What I will do is everything that I can to vote for what is good for this district and the state as a whole. And if it's not, I won't. And I will try my best to be transparent and explain it, whether it be through social media, newsletters, emails. I will let you know why I voted on what and why I didn't. And all I can ask for is you to give me your consideration.
Final question. If you're elected and you get a magic wand you can use over the state capitol on just one issue, have it resolved in a way that brings people together, what would that issue be?
It's tough to find just one issue. You know, there are so many, but I guess I'm going to take it to the veterans. I would like to see them taken care of no matter what their issue is. If it's housing, if it's health care, if it's mental health, whatever they need, those people should always come first. They served our country and they sacrificed so much, and they were willing to sacrifice it all so that we can sit here and have this interview, so that I can work every day, and they are the lifeblood of our country. So anything I can do for veterans, that's what I would like to see done.
Well, thank you, Richard Johnson of New Glarus, the Republican candidate for the 50th Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Richard Johnson, thank you for talking with WisconsinEye.
Thank you.
This programming is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Thank you for watching.